Hello, everyone, and welcome. My name is Abby, and I am the Senior Specialist for Product Training at Holland America. I'm thrilled to be your host for this episode of our Destination Spotlight series. I spent years living and working on our ships, and I am so excited to talk to you about a region that is one of my very favorites. Today, we are focusing on Canada and New England. This is a region that feels both familiar and special. It's easy to get to, incredibly scenic, and rich with history. It's a region that's filled with charming coastal towns, walkable historic cities, and scenery that evolves throughout the season, especially during fall foliage. When guests ask why Canada, New England with Holland America, it really comes down to how these itineraries are built, and that's incredibly thoughtfully. You get a beautiful blend of history, scenery, and coastal charm, everything from classic New England lighthouses to colorful fishing villages in Atlantic Canada. And when you pair that with shore excursions that go beyond surface sightseeing, whether that's exploring historic streets or spending time in national parks or visiting smaller ports that still feel very genuine and very local, you get a really interesting experience. We also have a unique advantage with Montreal. Thanks to our perfectly sized ships, guests can begin or end their cruise in a truly international city, adding a European feel to a North American itinerary. When you layer all of that with destination dining, our award winning personalized service, and milestone moments like America's 250th anniversary, it becomes a very complete and very compelling offering. This is truly one of those regions where history doesn't feel distant. It's something that guests can actually walk through. In ports like Boston and Philadelphia, guests aren't just hearing about early American history. They're walking the Freedom Trail, standing inside Independence Hall, and seeing firsthand where pivotal moments took place. These cities are also compact, walkable, and incredibly easy to explore from the ship. As the itinerary moves into Canada, New England, the story shifts to maritime history, places like Nova Scotia and Prince Edward Island, which were shaped by fishing, shipbuilding, and life at sea. And that history shows up in working harbors, preserved waterfronts, and everyday local life. When I picture Canada, New England, this is often what I imagine: rugged coastlines, classic lighthouses, and ports that feel especially magical in the evening. One thing that guests consistently love about these itineraries is the amount of time in port. Later departures and overnights give them space to enjoy these places beyond those standard postcard moments. That might mean walking out to West Point Lighthouse on Prince Edward Island as the sun starts to dip, or actually watching the light come on at the Portland Headlight in Maine. In ports like Halifax, evenings open up. The waterfront is alive with music drifting from pubs, and the historic streets feel completely different once the crowds have thinned out. This is not rushed sightseeing, it's atmosphere. And I think that's one of the things that guests resonate with most about this region. 2026 is a particularly special year to be sailing in this region because it aligns with America's 250th anniversary. And Canada and New England sit right at the center of that story. In Boston, guests have a late departure that allows them to experience 4th of July fireworks from the city where so much of American history began. In Philadelphia, which is often called the birthplace of America, guests can walk through Independence Hall, see the Liberty Bell, and connect directly with the stories behind the celebration. And then there's New York City. Sailing past the Statue of Liberty never gets old, but in a milestone year like this, it's especially meaningful. And we will be sharing New York Harbor with the largest ever flotilla of tall ships. For your guests who love history and being part of something significant, this is a powerful selling point. When you look at our 7 day at Canada and New England itineraries, the variety really stands out. We're not offering just one version of the region. There are multiple ways to experience it depending on what your guests care about most. The UNESCO sites and Quebecois Nights itineraries are a standout for culture focused travelers. Quebec City feels distinctly European. It is cobblestone streets and fortified city walls and incredible French food. And overnights allowed the guests to experience the city after day visitors have left, which makes it feel even quieter and more local. For your guests drawn to kind of that classic coastal charm, Maine and Maritimes delivers beautifully. Think lobster rolls in Portland, Maine, colorful waterfronts in Halifax, and the dramatic tides of the Bay of Fundy. These are ports where shore experiences really enhance the guest journey, whether they prefer scenic touring, culinary discovery, or simply exploring on foot. Our longer Canada New England itineraries offer guests a deeper cruise experience. Ports like Saguenay are major highlights. Cruising into the fjords feels dramatic and scenic and very similar to Alaska in feel, and it's something that guests talk about long after they've gone home. Then you have islands like Prince Edward Island and St. John, which add both charm and contrast. Think red sand beaches, fishing villages, and tidal drama of the Bay of Fundy, which is home to some of the highest tides in the world and also the warmest waters north of the Carolinas. These sailings are a great opportunity to talk about pre or post cruise stays in cities like Montreal, Quebec, or Boston, which can turn a great cruise into a truly immersive vacation. Collectors' voyages are especially appealing in this region, particularly for guests who like the idea of starting and ending in the same port. And that's because there is so much to see in each destination. And one of the real advantages here is getting to experience certain ports twice, perhaps taking a guided shore excursion on the first visit and then returning with confidence to explore on their own the second time. These itineraries work especially well for your milestone travelers, your retirees, or guests looking for a one and done vacation where everything is already thoughtfully arranged. I think when people think about Canada and New England, they often picture amazing scenery, and that's true. But this region really comes to life through shore experiences. In places like Halifax, your guests might stroll through the Victorian public gardens, then spend time along the vibrant waterfront enjoying local fresh seafood. In New York, the Statue of Liberty and Ellis Island experience is iconic and deeply emotional, especially for any guests who have family ties to immigration history. And then experiences like Fortress of Louisbourg brings history to life through full reenactments where guests walk through an 18th century settlement and can interact with costumed interpreters to learn about the time. We know that guests who book shore excursion experiences early consistently rate their cruise higher and are more likely to stay booked. And since many of these tours sell quickly, having that conversation with your guests early is important. One of the biggest reasons that guests return to Holland America year over year is our award winning personalized service. We have been recognized by Cruise Critic an unprecedented 4 years in a row for best service. And our team really takes the time to learn your guest preferences, anticipate their needs, and create a relaxed, welcoming experience. For your guests who value an extra level of comfort, Club Orange, Neptune, or suite accommodations are going to elevate that experience even further, and it's often what keeps them coming back. Entertainment on board is designed to complement the destinations our guests are visiting. Live performances anchors this experience from world stage productions to the Vivace String Ensemble and the Dam Band. On our Canada New England itineraries, we also have performances from Breton Thunder, which is a high energy Celtic band who perform on the world stage and in the Rolling Stone Lounge, bringing a very regional element to the performances. Local expertise comes through Destinations Up Close, where travel guides and guest speakers provide cultural context and practical port insights. And with more than 100 leisure activities offered on every cruise, from Tai Chi and art classes to pickleball, guests can engage as much or as little as they choose. Canada and New England is known for its incredible culinary traditions, from lobster to oysters to incredible fresh seafood. And that experience continues on board through our destination dining and first of its kind global fresh fish program. On our ships, guests will enjoy native seafood sourced locally, going from port to plate in less than 48 hours. And our menus on board are going to reflect the region with experiences like a seafood boil in the Lido Market, Canada and New England themed brunches in the main dining room, or even a pop up poutine bar with all the fixins in the Lido Market. Ashore, of course, culinary excursions like lobster bakes and visits to oyster farms add another layer connecting food with sustainability and local culture. This is a region that truly appeals to food focused travelers, and guests experience that through the entire journey, both on board and ashore. One last opportunity I want to highlight is our Connections program for small affinity groups. Connections is designed for groups of up to 24 guests and is available on nearly all Holland America cruises except for our grand voyages. What makes this program especially appealing is how easy it is to use. There's no group deposit required, and the benefits are combinable with all of our standard group amenities. Connections groups receive extra gap points and a dedicated tour conductor to guest ratio of 1 to 10. So it makes it perfect for small group travel, an ideal solution when your clients want to travel together but don't need a large traditional group setup. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this presentation. I hope it has helped to both inspire and inform you about the many reasons to choose Holland America Line in Canada, New England. And most of all, thank you so much for being our valued partner in turning your guest dreams into lifetime memories.